Hello and welcome to another edition of D6 Damage Diecast Live. Today I am here with D8,
Hello.
D3,
Hello there.
and D12.
Yo.
We are going to be answering your questions live, so those of you in chat, feel free to drop in, say anything that's on your mind. We're happy to hear from you and happy to take questions. We're going to start off, as I like to begin these streams, talking about a particular class and getting opinions. And today I would like to talk about a class that I think at least some of us have a bit of a love-hate relationship with, and that's the Ranger. D8, what do you think of the Ranger?
Are we talking Pathfinder 1 or 2?
Let's focus on Pathfinder 1, and we'll get to 2.
I like the Ranger. I don't think there's anything wrong with the Ranger. My main complaint about the Ranger is that I think they... One of the things I don't like about the Rangers is I think they... And maybe this is kind of nitpicky, but I feel like it's hard to... Like, they made it a fairly complicated class in ways that I don't think it necessarily needs to be so complicated.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of floating modifiers that I just feel aren't entirely... Like, I wish they would clean it up a little bit.
Like I can see what you mean.
But beyond that, I mean, I think it's a great class. It's on par, if not better, than the fighter in DPS. It's got a little bit of magic, a little bit of control. Having an animal companion isn't really fun. All in all, I think it's a fun class.
It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, backroom issue. So that's Pathfinder 1. How do you feel about one of its most important class features, the Favored Enemy?
The favorite enemy? It's nice. I mean, getting the +2 on attack and damage rolls is fantastic. But it's kind of a dangerous class to do without consulting the DM first, because your kind of efficacy is heavily weighted on what you're fighting, and with favored enemies, there's a lot of different things you can choose.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like what, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. There's like 31, 32 options just in the standard game. And if you're going through a campaign and you have come up with a cool backstory about hunting orcs and you end up not fighting orcs, well, that's one of your biggest things that's kind of taken out of the fight. And you only get another one every 5 levels.
Yeah. So it's also similar to Favored Terrain.
Yeah, I just think it's fine. You just need to, really kind of talk to your GM about, what can I expect to face? Mm-hmm. If I wanted to play a ranger, what favored enemies would be reasonable? Okay. They can probably limit it from 32 down to 5 fairly easily and still give you options.
What do you think, D12?
I think the Ranger is a really straight up class that lets you know exactly what you're doing from the get-go. You make the decision and it pushes you down a path. It really instigates a particular play style as well. It kind of basically says, all right, you're either going in and you're going melee with some spells to boost, or you're going ranged and you have the spells to boost. If you go ranged, then it's a great idea to grab an animal companion, but if you go melee, not so much half the time. Feat selection is pretty good as far as backing up your ranger, but in the end, it comes down to you must communicate with your DM to play a ranger. Otherwise, you're going to be playing a ranger who is completely out of sync with your campaign unless you know exactly what it is. Like, for instance, if we were doing one with Strahd, I would make a ranger with undead in mind and maybe lycanthropy or something along that line, or at least humanoid elf.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
But if you don't
everyone's
communicate,
gonna be asking you, you've come to Barovia looking for vampires?
right?
So, in terms of feat selection, you also have the added benefit of the fighting style feats. So you can... that can be an extra help, because some of those builds can be very feat intensive. So...
That's one of the reasons why I say it's kind of comparable to the fighter in a lot of ways when it comes to combat. Is that if you like did all the math and put everything together, I think the damage on like a ranged archer ranger slightly outweighs the damage from a two-handed weapon fighter. Mm-hmm. And part of that is because you almost have the same amount of feat choices because of the combat style feats. Mm-hmm. Like, so you can really spec into the path you're choosing to go.
Yeah, I suppose.
All right, D3, what's your take on the Ranger?
Well, that's the thing. I guess to me, the Ranger, and what I've seen many times of people use the Ranger class, I think to some extent, when they made the Ranger, they kind of had some small tension of, well, when I say they, I mean certain people who write the system, depending on that Pathfinder, D&D and like, they kind of have a thing which, they have an idea where it's like, the Ranger, to some extent, is a bit of a Swiss Army knife of, well, a Swiss Army knife of classes, to where it depends on what you want to do with it, as many, as D8 and D12 has so rightfully said. You know, just because you, but D8 rightfully said too, if you're going to do a specialized Ranger doing that, you got to communicate with the DM, and especially build for essentially what happens if you don't run into your prey, because just because, again, you might run into, like, go Barovia, it's like, oh, you're going to hunt vampires? No, I actually hunt undead. And, let me be fine with it, too, and there's certain instances, like, well, no, Strahd invites you over to dinner, and in reality, to find more vampires, well, you're kind of, it's kind of sort of, well, for lack of a better word, the sort of downside of specialization, where you specialize in one thing, you know, you can go through a graveyard, no problem, and deal with any residents that want to say hi, but at the same token, and if you're not in the instance, you're kind of no better off than many other people in the class, so it really depends on what you want to do with it, and essentially, like I mentioned, the Ranger mindset, preparing for the worst. I guess in your case, the worst being not running into your preferred target.
Mm-hmm.
Salutations, gentlemen.
Oh, hello there. How you doing?
I did not know one of you guys were doing this, but I actually have 2 points of topic on Rangers and specialization. One, this reminds me very amusingly of a character in Venture Brothers who is a vampire hunter. Unfortunately, he only hunts black vampires, or Blackulas, which is a bit of crippling over specialization. The other point I wanted to make was that I have a player who is very keen on specialization, usually picking like 2 or 3 abilities and focusing only on that, like just trying to increase his AC to the best visibility, or trying to use snake style to bluff and block people, only for him to run into issue whenever he has to deal with anything else. He prepares so hard to not get hit that whenever he gets hit, he gets killed. Specialization is fine, but you have to be wary of over-specialization.
Yes.
Well, I think the logic on specialization is if you're specialized enough, or if you've picked something that's valuable enough to... D3, were you, like, eating some candy or something?
Sorry.
Oh, okay, it's gameplay.
I just got off a 5-hour shift, and I have a Boston cream roll.
Well, enjoy. Anyway, so if you found something that's strong enough to specialize in, then you can kind of get around the I'm not that good. Like, if you want to be the almighty sword guy and be like, I'm the best at sword, then you can kind of get away with being super specialized. But that's sort of the logic, it doesn't always work. Sometimes you legitimately find yourself out of your element. You know, kind of like Aquaman on land.
Aquaman will still kick your butt on land. He had that big old hook hand. He was so cool. I think for me, I'm more of a generalist, and that's worked out really well for me. To the point that I like playing the Bard or Rangers and just spreading myself out. The one Ranger character I played, I did have the good fortune of my favorite enemy was human, and we mostly fought humans, and we were a pirate game, so I picked water. So we were mostly on water. But I think spreading myself out is my strength. Other people can work with only casting fire spells or only doing trip maneuvers. I can't.
Okay. Well, so my feelings on the Ranger are a little bit complicated. I like the class. I like the versatility of the class. I think the addition of spells gives you another layer of things you can do. But that being said, I think you can definitely find yourself legitimately out of your element. You do need to work with your DM ahead of time. The Ranger is a specialized animal. Animal companions. That's another thing that's can be really good. Especially if you can do things like maneuvers, teamwork feats can work pretty damn well with the Ranger. But you got to know what you're doing. Definitely not a beginner class. Powerful, but not for everyone. I
have a question. Has anyone here, in playing a Ranger, picked anything besides two-weapon fighting or archery?
Well, to be honest, I haven't really got a chance to play the Ranger, so wouldn't know as far as myself. But if I did have to make a build, I guess I would, not to sound cheap, but I would go for mostly range, considering I'd probably go for the sharpshooter, but maybe something small for melee as far as the defense. But
I'm talking more like the feat progression, because as a Ranger, you pick one, and that's the way you go.
Oh. Well, I'm definitely a teamwork feat sort of guy myself.
Yeah, we've done two-handed weapon Rangers before, and they work pretty well.
Yeah.
It just occurred to me because there's also mounted combat natural attacks, and I never see people pick those.
I've done the natural attack one to great effect.
You
and
bit
the mounted
people, didn't you?
combat one is really hit or miss. You like I said, when you have to work with your DM to play a Ranger, if you pick mounted combat and you didn't talk to your DM first, 90% chance, especially if you're medium sized and have a large mount, you're going to be in trouble at least a good third of your fights. But the unarmed or natural attack one, oh man, that one's pretty fun, honestly. That's probably my second favorite other than archery.
You bite people, don't you?
Maybe.
So we've talked about Pathfinder 1 Ranger. Does anyone have any particular thoughts about Pathfinder 2?
I do. Wait, positive?
Or negative?
Okay. I think it's rather interestingly that in Pathfinder 2 they decided to get rid of his magic, as I feel magic is a weird thing on Rangers as well. But them giving traps over it, I was like, I see where you're going, but who sets up traps in a combat? I almost always see combat being something that you move towards and attack creatures in the setup they have. So the idea of, establishing a trap is kind of strange to me. And then, say, for example, you do have the ability to produce a trap as a free action. You have it, hit in a bag of holding and you throw it out. Okay? Now it's in that square. Try and get the monster to step into that square. Either has a really, really low intelligence and you've managed to coerce it into that, or the DM's trying to make the trap feature viable and just has the monster walk into that. No dragon has willingly walked into one of those snare traps. Anytime he was humoring something.
You know, you have just reminded me of one of my favorite Magic the Gathering cards from Shadows over Innistrad. It's called Open the Armory, and it allows you to pull an aura or an equipment. But I love it because of the picture. It is a like big burly guard dude with a crossbow that shoots bear traps.
Listen, I'm going to build a character that just fights with bear traps one of these days. And you might be thinking, oh, like throwing them? No, brass knuckles.
You know, actually, I think D8 had a bear trap monk.
My man. You just throw a punch, it clamps down, and then you swing them around.
Yeah, glue, magnets, and bear traps. And you use the way of the I think it's the open fist, whichever one that gives you the improvised weapons. Yeah, it was fun.
I did think that way they could have gone with the ranger is have them remove his spell casting, but instead give him rituals to perform that could provide certain buffs, with the idea being like, oh yeah, over the course of this week you managed to slay creatures but offer the meat up to the local flora, up to the local wildlife, to like the ravens and the crows of the area. And now you've formed a bit of a bond with them. And now, whenever you hunt in the area, you get a bonus, as these creatures are quick to alert you to prey. So you might get a bonus to your tracking.
D8, didn't you play a ranger in Pathfinder 2?
Yes, I did.
What did you think? You went with the animal companion and the archery, right?
Yes, and that worked fine. I guess I don't know. I don't think any of the problems I had with that character had anything to do with the class beyond the fact that it was Pathfinder 2, and I didn't like the way Pathfinder 2 worked. Mm-hmm. So beyond that, I think it's fine. I don't mind them losing the magic. I think Doom's suggestion of rituals actually is a pretty good idea. I think that would have been cool. I think that if you're going ranger, the only way to kind of mix and match is to also go human, so that you can end up taking, because there's one human racial variant that gives you an extra first level class skill or class feat, and that's a really great way to get both the ranged kind of combat stuff as well as grabbing an animal companion, because that's what I ended up doing, because I didn't like how I was kind of either stuck with basic ranged combat or just an animal companion. So that's how I got around it, to have both the specialized ranged combat and the animal companion.
We have a good point in chat from Mur. What about retraining favored enemy selection? I believe you can retrain class features. That's not a feature we've used. We haven't really retrained a lot, just because we don't tend to play games with a lot of downtime or disposable income. But that's definitely something you could do if you really find yourself out of your element.
Can we appreciate your childhood backstory of hating dragons for destroying your town, now focused into hating humans because screw you, Kevin! You stole that donut, so I'm gonna pay a man to teach me how to hate my fellow man to the best of my ability. That's retraining your favorite enemies, and that's great.
You know, I'm picturing the ranger just going to like some guy's house. So you want to learn how to hunt men, huh? Well, you're gonna have to think like a man, act like a man, live like a man. Already done. Well, then I guess you graduate.
That'll be 5,000 gold.
Yeah.
Or 1,000 gold based off your level, or however it works out.
Anyway, here's a question I think we'll all have a lot of fun with from T. Jackson. What is your favorite class and race? I feel like we've fielded this one before, but there's always one more that we could talk about. D8, why don't you start us off?
Oh, there's so many different races to choose from, and they're all so good. I'm a huge fan of Tiefling. I'm a huge fan of Human. I'm a huge fan of Elf. All three of those are fantastic races that I used an awful lot of. As for classes, it's kind of a throw. I think my absolute favorite, the one I have the most fun playing, but I very rarely get to use, is Cavalier. But I'm also a huge fan of both Rogue and Sorcerer, and just the straight-up fighter as well.
What about you, D12?
All right. I think. That one's an interesting question for me because at certain times I change. I know my favorite class easily is the Druid. What was that?
I love the 3.5 Druid.
Oh, I love all versions of the Druid. Every time I find the Druid, heck, even Pathfinder 2's Druid. It's definitely different, but it's the Druid is probably and easily my favorite class. I think my second to the Druid, as far as Pathfinder is concerned, was the Oracle. That class, it hits all the right notes for Divine Caster that I wanted in the Cleric, but it just seems like the Oracle just hits it just right because it makes it so the class feels like you're not just a random holy person. You could be a person who's just been touched by a god, and you're just trying to live your life, but the god just keeps affecting you in different ways.
Show up on the doll where the god touched you.
The Oracle just gives you so much stuff to work with, like the mysteries of the Revelation can allow you to do all kinds of cool stuff.
The Revelations.
The Cleric kind of gives you just very straight, this is who you are, this is what you get.
Yep. And then you also get the curse, which is great because it's like, oh, by the way, you can choose one curse, and slowly as you level, you get to offset it, or you can choose two curses. And oh god,
gee, Billy, how come you got two curses?
I mean, there's a blessing to doing it, but whew.
So D12, with the amount of sneaking that we've seen you do with Jack, you seem like you'd have a lot of fun with a rogue.
Well, see, when you cuts down to it, the class that when I first got into D&D in general, before our Pathfinder, back in AD&D 2, I played the rogue, the thief, the halfling. I always played the guy that was sneak in, get the mission done, sneak back out, or sneak in, cause havoc, and walk out. The rogue class, the ninja class, the assassin class, that they overall sneak in, do something dastardly or not, and sneak back out, I love. But that class, I run. Once I've started that class, I tend to play it to the point of, all right, I'm going to specialize in one particular type of weapon. I'm going to make sure I'm really good at sneaking, hiding, and I'm going to grab magic items to support that, and so on. It makes it so when I'm playing a rogue, I kind of feel like I am almost going to work from back one of my old jobs, and instead I like to break away from that. So it's like the druid and the oracle, the spellcasters that are not necessarily hiding, but they're right there. They're in your face, but they may not be what they seem.
Now, when it comes to races, it seems like you enjoy a lot of the small fry races. Your gnome, your halfling. Any others?
Yeah, I really do. Yeah, like you said, I do love these small races. Honestly, my two most favorite races that I used to play a lot, or actually technically because I used to DM a lot, I used to use as my favorite were the ogres. Loved anything I could do with an ogre, and the Naga, but that race doesn't really transfer over quite too well when you get into playable. I mean, I think you have the Nagaji is the closest thing for playable race in Pathfinder 1.
Yeah, I think they give you some lizardy options. There's the snake people with the poison tongues or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what they're called.
So your options for that is there's the Nagaji, which are the kind of Yuan-Ti Pureblood analog, There's the Vishkanyu, which are the weird aliens.
Oh yeah, the poison
blood aliens, which are kind of snaky in some kind of stupid way, and then you have the just the straight up lizard folk.
Yeah. Now, a race that I don't get to play or haven't gotten to play in quite some time, but I loved was the lizard folk. I played that for 4 or 5 years. I had fighters, barbarians, rogues, clerics, all types of lizard folk for the longest time. But I think I liked them because of the fact that they had that hold your breath for a long period of time, had a space swim speed, get the claws, get not monkey grip, but spider climb or ring of it, or some slippers of it, and you get into some really fun situations.
What about you, D3?
Mine, I haven't played much as far as different races of combination and such. Maybe seem a little typical for me and that isn't, but this one of the favorite class I played in the campaigns we all played together was War Priest. I kind of like the combo. I guess the sort of options where you're a healer, and I guess in my case more of a frontline fighter, the healer, but you also can I guess cast spells in the form of small miracles. So I guess to me that appealed to me because of the range of options, and then you can be a frontliner, but if anyone needs help, you can also help them out and continue on. And then maybe a bust if I got high enough level in that instance. But yeah, that appealed to me. But one thing one class you showed me that I want to play soon if possible is the investigator. I think it's also a good class, which similar to the ranger, I think has a potential for a lot of either multi-class or some other combination options there too. So, what might give my hand at that? Let's see. As far as favorite races, well, I guess falling back at some of the DH favorite ones. There's humans, there's tieflings, and then some other ones as well. But I think some of the more exotic races also appeal to me. Whether it's constructs, I guess Dragonborn or whatever equivalent for Pathfinder, which is that. But I guess the main thing is even if you just play human, there's even then there's opportunities to put something in it, and I guess one of the main misconceptions I think some people have is, play human. Oh, you play human. Yeah, yes, but you forget there's other ethnicities in there, and as long as it's within the realm of the game and such, or you have a good reason why one person's far from home, I think you play that too. So, a couple of my favorites there too, and some things I wouldn't mind trying. Some of the kind of monstrous-esque races, only because I think it has some more storytelling opportunities to have this particular person from, say, I don't know, far places like, Aarakocra and Crow that can work with the party and such like that. That's some good story opportunities there, and who am I playing if I can?
Mm-hmm. Doomboy, what are your thoughts?
For favorite classes, I like to have my variety as best I can, so the Bard has always held a special place in my heart. He has constantly been seen as the goofball, the weirdo, the knucklehead McSpazatron. But I kind of love that because then I can do whatever I want and no one sees it coming. If I go, hey, I'm going to start buying some masks. Alright, sure. That's just the Bard being weird. By the way, I'm going to start following this guy around. Sure, maybe he wants to sleep with him. Bards are horny. It's like, yes, this isn't my path towards a criminal empire. That would be silly. Oh wait, he started an absolute criminal empire? Oh my god, he's actually a super dark, serious character. And what does he call himself? Well, he's just been going by the name WW. What's the WW stand for? Walter White. You dick! This has been a joke the entire time. Yes!
You sure that's Bard not Alchemist?
Fix it up. But you can do whatever you want with the Bard. No one sees it coming, especially now that I think the Bard doesn't have to be chaotic.
Did the Bard ever have to be chaotic?
It used to in 3.5.
Did it? Wow, I completely memory hold anything about the Bard in 3.5.
The Bard made a stealth check. Yeah. Alignment, any non-lawful. So, kinda. That's me misremembering it, because I only played him chaotically. As for races, for the longest time I played human, and I am in the market to try and mix it up. I've been looking at Gorons for their ability to come back from the dead, which is really cool. Gathlins for being small size and starting with wings with no issue. I was going to be playing a Wyvern recently, but the kineticist killed that desire. So yeah, I'm really interested in trying those races that are really, really weird. Not because I'm weird, but because I've been vanilla tapioca boring lately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I tend to like the more exotic races, but I think when it comes down to it, I think the race that I've always the one that holds the deepest hard spot in my heart is the orc. Everyone always tells me, no, don't, please. But they're awesome. I mean, you can play an orc and you can be an intelligent orc, and it comes off as, well, that's just an odd orc. That's one of them brain boys. That's what it is. If you make them a spellcaster or a psychic, then things just get fun. Orcs are amazing, and the amount of information that you have for their culture and background and race and stuff like that makes it almost one of the more perfect races out there to just kind of putz around. But then they have the huge drawback of 3 negative numbers in Pathfinder, and you're sitting there going, wow, there's some real hate against the orc people here. All mental stats get -2.
It's really great looking at the orc and go like, yeah, they're terrible. Why? Oh, because they raid and pillage. Looks to human barbarians, and those guys are fine? It's just humans being angry people. It's like, what is it, just palette swapping for you? Well,
I do think there's a certain amount
so do elephants. Everyone loves elephants.
I think it is a certain amount of we just object to pillaging, but do we object to doing the pillaging? D12. How would you feel about an all-orc party as a DM?
As a DM, that would be an amazing experience, just to sit there and watch the party sit there and go, okay, we're orcs. We're leaving orc territory. Where do we go? Why are we going there? Are we going to raid? Are we going to destroy a place? Are we going to try to get in and be civilized, air quotes, and join society? I would enjoy that to no end, having an all-orc party watch as you guys just sit there and either try to join the rest of the world or destroy it. Or maybe you start off trying to do one and end up doing the other.
Which one of us in which route gets us paid faster?
I had a orc that I fell in love with, whose basic character arc was that there was a girl he had fallen in love with, and just by her showing him this different lifestyle and loving him for who he was, I know this is all very generic, he basically went like, I don't really care about warring and pillaging. Before I wanted to be like the leader of my clan, but now I just want to be with her. I want to explore different avenues, and he was in a quest to figure out where she had gone, having been taken off to like, just to get away from her orc boyfriend. You know how it is, ladies. And just trying to explore new avenues that did involve war and violence and such, perhaps pursuing music, because he was going to be a bard. I like bards.
When it comes to my taste in classes, I like classes that do stuff. Preferably, the more stuff they do, the better. That's one of the reasons why I really like a lot of the occult classes. I like the occultist because there's just so many things that you do. Same thing with like the mesmerist. I think just the ability to, just the hard control you can do with the class is amazing. You get a lot of options. I like the fact that you can act on other people's turns with some of like the mental suggestions you can implant in people's minds. Other classes that aren't like in the occult classes, something like the D3 mentioned it, the investigator. I played an investigator. I thought it was fun. You get so many like options. You can make so many, just adding BS to your dice rolls. It's great. As for races, I tend to go one of two directions. I tend to like either the really dark and spooky races, because, grimdark is best dark. So that's things like the Dhampir, the Rat Folk. tieflings. Either that, or I like the pretty races that I can then make incredibly dangerous. So they end up being pretty dangerous and pretty dangerous. So that's your elves, your elementally aligned races. I tend to like the look of, like the fire guy, the Ifrits, the air guys. I feel bad. I'm blanking on all the names.
I like that you're blanking on all the names because it makes it really entertaining from my perspective.
Whatever.
I think it's the Sylph is the one you're looking for.
Sylphs and then Undine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like those three. Orates, don't care.
I do think the biggest issue with the Mesmerist that people struggle to get over is that the class demands that you have a twirling mustache.
Jeez.
Does not.
Does too. You're not playing it right if you don't do that.
I am too.
Like, I'm picturing big round glasses, a big old bushy mustache that twirls at the end.
No, I see him definitely with a Fu Man.
Well,
Well,
you're gonna be very exotic. Also, yeah, you'll be very exotic. I was trying to think of a way to get like a really normal mesmerist, like hey, I'm Steve. Nice to meet you. Stare right into the eyes. Make a hearty handshake.
That's how he does. He just makes such a strong, good first impression that he entrances you. He stands up straight. He puffs out his chest. He shakes your hand, firmly grips it, and maintains eye contact.
Oh, jeez.
Hi there, how there, ho there.
He's gone every single interview he's ever gone for.
Yes. Behold to the world the most dangerous politician in the world. One that can easily move you.
Especially the ones who can move you to a bigger house. They tend to really get results.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I like the way you think there, D6, I guess some of your race choices too, as far as what you like to play as well. But yeah, no, I like the choices you make there too. Could be interesting as far as story, where most people go, "Oh, you play those really grim, dark ones." Is it because, well, maybe just, well, yeah, you would say edgy most of the cases, but it's like, dude, I'm on vacation. You escaped from the Underdark, haven't you? Yes, because I actually discover Sunshine better. Please leave me alone.
I had a question for you guys, vaguely related to class. Have you ever considered playing monsters? Or in the sense of, you're a human, but you're also a vampire, or you're a werewolf. Those things layered on top of what you've already got going for yourself.
Actually, yeah, I was kind of experimenting with a build where, not to give some things away, but this character of mine starts off in, I guess some other land there too, but because of something happened to his family clan or wherever he's done with, he's cursed into being this other monster. So it's kind of like a bit of a Howl's Moving Castle deal, to where, yeah, he's quote-unquote cursed in this form, but whether or not he stays in that form in the campaign is something I was actually working on. Still under development, though, but I'll let you guys know once I get the build up and running. Or at least got the blueprints up for it done.
So because he has taken off because he has other commitments at the moment, but D8 did play as a werewolf one time. It was pretty amazing.
Nice.
D12, I do fear the answer to this. Would you embrace your inner monster? And if so, in what form?
Let's see. The first time I did it was as a Minotaur. The second time I did it was as a half giant who was part werecroc. Or technically
So
not
how
part
much of
werecroc, he
Gotham
was
City
a
did
werecroc.
you eat?
Say that.
Let's see. Who else did I do? I've done a werebat. And I've done a one of my DMs actually allowed me to make my own were, and I made a were spider, and that one terrified the party. I actually got killed by my party mate instead of by the enemy.
Oh, jeez. Well, you know who the arachnophobe in your party is.
What about you, D6?
Well, when I like to open up the idea of what is a monster really, and I guess I tend to go for like vampires. I would definitely play a vampire mesmerist. So not only would I be a monster, I'd be a popular one.
Oh, jeez.
But you know, some of the more manageable, if you're looking as a DM for manageable monstrosities, the shifter race is really good because, like the Batkin shifter, I wanted to do like a Batkin like Gravedigger investigator. I just thought that would be a great multi-class, or not. I thought that would be a great race class combination. It would be super fun. They're great because you can get the wings, and being able to fly around is great. But if you want to expand the definition of what you would consider a monster, is in not it's monstrous and scary, but it's something that the player probably shouldn't play. I wouldn't say no to anything with the Fey template. That you get some awesome stuff out of that.
Yeah, that's one way to go about it.
I mostly meant in the way of like having this curse or thing upon you that you have to deal with. Could have simply been something like you're also haunted by something. I've wanted to play these things, and I still hope to one of these days. I am rather pleased that. Are any of you familiar with White Wolf?
Yes.
My one friend coerced me and my other friends into doing a werewolf game. He's like, this is going to be rad. We're going to be a wolf pack, and since it was my idea, I'm going to be the leader of the wolf pack.
Wasn't there like... doesn't this end with like a polar bear?
Yes, I'm the polar bear.
Yes.
Did I say this already? Yeah. One person played a were-spider, one person played a were-coyote. We got a were-dragon, the nut job, a were-fox, and then finally the other person went, hey, I'm playing a werewolf. He's like, awesome. Although technically I'm mostly fairy. As he was the only werewolf in the group of the wolf pack.
Sorry, you're gonna have to change those team jackets.
Right? So team name fail.
So let me guess. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say back to business. We have a question from T. Jackson. What archery feats should I look at for getting my fighter character? He's already a pretty solid melee fighter. I'm looking for increasing his skills with a bow. He's got a compound longbow +5. Wow. You must have a mighty strength score for this fighter of yours. Obviously, got to begin with point blank shot.
Yeah, point blank, precise.
I would recommend
rapid would be a decent one.
I would recommend pinning shot and talk to your DM about called shots because that would take you miles. Pinning shot makes it so you can essentially do ranged grapples with your arrows, pinning them to the floor or to nearby walls. And called shots allow you to pick specific parts of the body that, should you deal significant enough damage to that part of the body, they suffer debilitating effects. Like, you hit them in the eye, and now they're blind. You clip a creature in the wings, and they fall. You're able to disarm, and if you deal a ton of damage, hit a creature in the heart, and you just get to auto-kill them. But it takes a lot of damage.
Alright. Let's see.
If you have another person who's going to be doing, like, archery stuff, the teamwork feat and Felding Fire is really good because you get bonuses by standing next to each other and shooting.
I think one of my favorite ones that goes really unnoticed is Parting Shot. It's basically a feat that basically goes, you can use the withdraw action, and you can shoot somebody, although I'm not sure if you have to be a ranger to take it or not. I thought you could get it as one of your fighter combat feats, but it might be a ranger only. That would be weird if it is. Nope, it's not ranger only. Okay, good. So it basically allows you to shoot while disengaging, which normally you can't shoot while disengaging. And if you tried, you would provoke an attack, but instead now you get the one shot and you get the withdraw action. And you can do the shot at any point during the withdraw if you use the Parting Shot feat, which is a really good one. And Shot on the Run is a prerequisite for it, but it's damn good. That one's a damn good feat too, if you're gonna be an archer.
We also have a question from Gustavo. What do you think about the Kinetic Knight? That is a new one to me, guys. Do any of you know?
The Kinetic Knight is hyper-focused on melee combat over ranged combat for the Kineticist, where they get the Kinetic Blade right out the gate. And it's certainly interesting, and it helps facilitate doing melee combat with it. But personally, if you can deal with a Kineticist, you'll be able to handle anything.
For some reason, I have. Go ahead.
I was going to say, with the amount of Constitution you'll be building on a Kineticist, it makes for a very good front line. So,
yeah. For some reason, I have this almost vision of the Kinetic Knight coming in and well, I guess we could say his weapon of choice is not just a blade, but several maces that look suspiciously like golf clubs. He gets to build up some momentum and essentially nine irons the enemy on the front line for his friends. Trouble is, he always has to move away from where he is now to where the foe in question landed and just continue attacking from there. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Kinetic Knight's not bad. Overall, it gives you more of a melee touch to the Kineticist, so it's basically just, yeah, it gives you a melee touch to the Kineticist, making it a lot more viable in the front and mid line instead of only being viable in mid to rear.
Mm-hmm.
The defense bonus, the elemental damage output, basically you're damn near, what is that? The Knight's Resolve turns you part samurai.
Nice.
That's cool. And now imagine that guy with a sword that won't stop vibrating.
Well, but just basically turn the sword into a flaming phallic object and you swing it. There you go.
We're going to take a quick 5-minute break because I got to use the bathroom and I want to refill my water. I will be right back. Those of you in chat, thank you for joining us. We're going to get back to your questions in just a minute.
All right.
5-minute break.
Let's see.
Actually, a really decent question would probably be... I haven't used this one in forever. Oh, that's
this time, folks, feel free to send as many questions as you want so we can, answer them.
I like Blazing King's answer to that. 9 Iron is the name. It's the name of my knight now.
You're welcome. I was joking, but hey, if you can make an actually good character from that, go on ahead. But in all seriousness, I haven't. First time I've ever heard of Kinetic Knight, so when I heard that, I thought, what if he was a golfer? Because this noble that comes in to help the party, he doesn't look down on them, but essentially he's willing to help out, but every time he basically backstrokes a enemy from there, it's like, wait a minute, my companions have to move. Where you going? I have to go where he lands. Punt. That, or he just essentially just plays croquet, where he just looks at a cannonball from nowhere and just launches it with a hammer.
Which knight is he asking about? Alright, yeah, the Kineticist Knight is okay. I think I just got his oh, there it is. Now once D6 gets back, we'll get back into these questions. Did I mute myself? No, I didn't. Have any of our viewers made a character that you actually got complimented by your DM about?
I'm back.
Welcome back. We got a couple of questions that you can go. Oh.
All right. Well, I think the first one we're going to take on is from frequent poster on the D6 Damage Discord, which you should all join because it's a great place to be. Silver Sephiroth said that out of the third-party options, be it races, archetypes, alternative rules, etc., what would you like to seek at the first-party treatment? D12, have you run across any third-party content you wish was first?
There were a couple of small things, but I'd have to actually go back and look because I tend to walk away from third-party stuff because we don't use it all that often, if ever.
Yeah.
There were a couple of things I know that were like third-party, especially like I know for a fact that all the class, because of how the information came out, not every race and class has their specialty, whatever it was called,
Favorite
class bonuses. Yeah, they're not all written out, and some of them, like the third party, writ out some pretty decent ones, and some of the third parties writ out some completely trash ones. But hey, they put them out there. You know, they gave us something to work with, or at least something to get an idea based off of. But in the end, it comes down to your personal preference and your DM's ability to use information that is not completely balanced. Now, it may have gotten some balancing done, but it's just not completely balanced. I think, what was a third party? I think, I can't remember. Most of them would have been that kind of stuff that I was talking about. I think there was stuff like the Hedge Wizard, which made me smile, and the Pact Scion, which also made me smile. But they are just like little small things that were not of any actual import or usefulness.
I remember briefly.
That.
You guys stepped on each other.
Sorry. Go D6.
I was briefly looking at third-party content because I was working on like a blood-themed character, and I found like some cool blood-related feats. I think one of them was called like Blood Magic, and it gave you some ridiculous boosts. It was third-party, and it was too powerful. It might even be first party for all I know, but there's like the Blood Mage, and it basically turns you into the librarian from the first Blade movie, which is pretty epic.
I was thinking the wrong thing from the Blade movie. I was thinking the fat person.
No, it totally was the fat person.
Okay.
The librarian. It's been forever since I've seen that.
He was either the librarian or the scroll keeper, but he was basically a keeper of knowledge. Oh.
D3, are you with us?
Oh yeah, just me myself. So if I was doing something else, it wouldn't. Wouldn't bug you guys.
Well, I mean, we're back going now. Do you have any third-party content you wish was first-party?
Well, that's the thing too. Honestly, during my scrolling through like I guess like some Pathfinder sites to build a character, I have run some interesting things too, as far as I guess like mixing and matching sort of or multi-classing certain things, but I guess Magic Knight was one of the things that or Magic Adventure or something like that. But usually it comes at a cost of certain things. It's like I don't know why they would take that out as far as like example mixing matching or subclassing of the Magus and such like that. Some things I kind of wonder why you wouldn't have the thing there or not. But my thing is at least as far as long as your DMs go with it, I think you should be okay with it. But yeah. Personally speaking, no, I haven't seen much of things that wouldn't Yeah, one might obviously, but whether or not you do so, I guess kind of up to your him as well. But like I said before, another diecast, if you're going to want to bring that in there, you bring it in for the whole group, but also bring a case for it, because one of the dangers of third party is unless you have the physical materials if you're all together, or can you put a link if you're online, you're going to have to really show evidence of how it's going to be there too. I mean, show how you can make it work for that and within the campaign or something like that.
Okay, yeah, well, there are definitely like lots of things out there that you can use in various ways. The openness of the D20 system is really great because all kinds of people can make all different kinds of things, and you can either use it or not use it. One of the problems I think we tend to have with third-party content is it tends not to be that well balanced, or you have to be careful with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the ones that I tend to find are usually more balanced have been Four Wind, Fantasy Grounds, although sometimes their stuff is just weird, and Cobalt Press. They tend to do a pretty decent job of trying to keep it close to balance. Most of the other ones I can't say yay or nay on. I don't spend too much time looking at. I think I did mess around with Frog God Games for a little bit. Tried out, I think it was either their Zealot of the Ocris or Occult, or I tried out their Arc Wizard for a little bit. Really fun classes. They actually didn't feel too unbalanced, honestly. It just sometimes it's hard to tell which way you should go with them because they're not a pure, like, straight up normally recognized class. Like the Zealot kind of feels like an off sorcerer, but you're an evil character. You have to be evil to play the Zealot. And then the Arc Wizard, where you were basically just another wizard, but you had requirements to get into this class. It basically turned it into a prestige archetype, but it was balanced in its own way. But I don't know if like each campaign would find it balanced.
Mm-hmm. We have an interesting question from T. Jackson. Are there any good ways to increase your critical hit range? You have basically two directions that you can go, at least in my opinion. One is you can sync class features. The other is you can sync money. So if you have class features but don't have money, the improved crit range feat is really good, although by the time you get access to that, you're going to be really high level anyway. So you can probably afford a keened weapon.
Which is the money way.
Yeah.
I just want to say in regards to third-party content, pure Steam. Just get pure Steam. It went, hey, do you like airships? Like, yes, I'm sold. Here's $50. No, wait, there's more content. Oh, okay. What else do you got? We have a steampunk vibe. Here's my money. No. You can also build your own robots with just money. Not constructs? No, just money. Well, how does it work? It's like an Eidolon. Here's $50. I'll take this book now, please. Okay, whatever. There's an archetype for the fighter in it called the Pugilist. I know there's another one. I actually got these two confused. But one of the abilities it gets right out the gate is that it just turns damage it takes into non-lethal damage. It's just the nastiest of fist fighters, and I loved it. I put it on a troll, and he became downright untouchable.
And I'm looking for that book right now because it sounds awesome. So you say it's pure Steam?
Yeah, pure Steam. It has like a whole setting set up for itself. I was under the impression that it was designed for Pathfinder, but it might be its own thing entirely. I could be wrong.
Here is a question from the Discord. I'm playing a Stone Lord Paladin in my Pathfinder Society group. It's been pretty fun when we aren't being bogged down. I absolutely know how you feel. I have an Earth Stone Servant. Next level, it will mature into a medium elemental. What do I do with it? Does it gain levels as a companion? I looked briefly at the class, and unfortunately I can't give you a real exact answer, because on the one hand, it really sounds like it functions like Summon Monster. But I think it might work similar to how the Paladin's Animal Companion feature works, which seems to be what it's replacing. As for what you do with it, well, unless you're playing a small cat... Wait, I think you have to be a dwarf, so no, you're not a small category creature. So you can't ride it yet, but when it becomes large, you could carry it around. That'd be cool. At the moment, I would say using it to flank opponents is the best thing you can do with it. That, and it can carry gear for you, which ain't bad.
I believe there was an answer for this on the illustrious D6 Discord, where it was just that it essentially functions like rangers and their animal companions.
It does function like an animal companion based on what I read. It's basically replacing the Divine Bond feature of the Paladin, and as such, it's acting in its place. It's basically instead of having the traditional Divine Bond, you're gaining an Earth Elemental in its place. It continually, you may call an Earth Elemental to your side. It doesn't say it's the same one. It doesn't say it's a different one. So literally, you could each day call an Earth Elemental to your side. It would be based on level. So you said medium. That means you're minimum 8th level, or about to be. I would use it as a front runner. I would use it as a blocker, hard charger, especially since it has Earth Glide and Earth Mastery. Bull Rush and Overrun are going to be very hard to do to it. And the fact that it is just able to reposition itself as long as it's touching the ground makes it a really adequate flanking partner for you. So if you're all up in front line, or if you don't want to be, use it for it, especially since it'll be medium-sized category then, and we'll have 20 feet movement in Earth, 20 feet movement over Earth. Yeah, it comes with Bull Rush and Power Attack, so yeah, I would recommend using it as a dang near a mobile wall.
Speaking of
Or
mobile
flanking
walls,
partner.
we have a question from Stormfin. What would I build a Viking fighter around? One idea is a feat dazzling display, then a pronounced language whirlwind attack with shield bashing. That's not bad. You certainly do, if you want to go into dazzling display, you get the bonuses to intimidate. I would say I would utilize the rage a lot, because being able to rage is a great ability, works super well for barbarians. As a fighter, you get a lot of feats and stuff, so you can really find unique ways to use rage that you might not get, say, with the actual barbarian. That would be the direction I would go with it. Guys, are any of you familiar with the Viking fighter?
I don't know anything specific. I know about Vikings and I know about fighters.
No. He's talking about the Viking fighter, not Vikings fighters.
Sounds interesting, all the same. I'm in.
It's an archetype, people.
I see. Hold it on.
It's an archetype designed for the fear and intimidate. It's literally the bread and butter for this archetype is rage, scare people, give them a demoralizing effect of some kind with your rage, and then kill them.
So
That's your job.
So it's like the ghost-faced killer from 3.5.
Yes, only you can use a tower shield and run around with a freaking axe and rage.
Well,
Let me
after you,
regale you
basically.
with a story of our beloved D4 and his Viking fighter. He played as a shifter of the bear variety, and over the course of his adventure, he acquired an item called an Ursine Rage Skin, which was an addition to his armor that allowed him to physically transform into a bear. So he would rage and become a bear, and then intimidate people as a very frightening bear. And
Yeah.
it was a hell
I'll
of a
do it.
display.
It was a hell of a display, especially when he decided it was time to kill something.
Yeah.
Implying the target would have not died of fright the second they saw someone turn to a bear, go into a rage, turn to a bear, go into a rage again, and scream at them to the point where even death metal singers are in awe of the vocal range that screaming bear, Viking bear can shout and scream at the. And he pours sap on the other side of the bear.
Mm.
Yeah, D4 likes to embrace a lot of these primal, nature characters. One of his finest moments, I'm not sure this was entirely rules as written, was when he did like a leap down on a boss and midair transformed into the bear and did basically a grapple bite on him.
That was rules as written was not quite followed, but it was partially factor of cool. Yeah, and partially all his rules lined up to make it, you know what? We're going to allow it.
I would suggest with this Viking fighter that Rage Power Roaring Drunk would be good to look into. It gives you a bonus to Intimidate and to saves for fear effects. It also increases that number for each alcoholic drink you've had. So your Viking can get completely wasted and put the fear of whatever god he prefers into their heart.
Yeah. It's definitely
barbarian level, so
Here's a question that I think is interesting to ponder. I know I've thought about it repeatedly. Do characters know what their alignment is?
Oh god, no. No.
Honestly, the answer to that is more dependent on the character's race. Because if you think about certain races have this tendency to act a certain way. And as such, they would know if they were acting within their race's general feel profile, as it were. Like you have the chaotic nature of goblins. If you're acting intelligent or not chaotic or not every once in a while like spazzing out, you definitely know you're different. Now, do you know that you're not chaotic? Probably not, but you know you're different.
See, I see it as the paladin who can be questing and saving lives and being a true blue hero, a sort of legend that inspires others, can look upon himself and only see failure and think, I'm not good. I am not upholding the law that I must uphold. So even though they're lawful good, they might see themselves as neutral good or neutral. And a rogue who is ripping and tearing through the land, stealing whatever he sees, thinks, no one knows what I've been through. I'm the good guy. So he might be chaotic neutral, but he sees himself as lawful good. He's following his rules. As far as he knows, he's not hurting anybody.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing of, I guess as far as alignment's concerned. It's one thing to stick by alignment because you believe in it, and I guess by another, it's, you say it's one alignment, but I guess on the character, it's like, how far are you on the thing there too? And well, I can appreciate that some people aren't that fond of like alignment because they feel like, oh, I'm this way now, I'm attacked a certain way. When I think it's much more to the character more than me. I think that's the thing that I think that's something that they really take into account. That just because your alignment on paper says that doesn't mean you can have some variation or nuance of that alignment there too. And that's what I look at as far as like alignments as more of a gradient. Like you said before, this guy is lawful, is bound to be lawful good as far as that. People praise him and like him because they see his lawful good. But in his mind, just to play on the old phrase, you're your own biggest critic at times. And it's like, well, I think I'm more neutral good because I think I'm holding the law, but I don't know if I'm doing a good job. Then his lawful good God goes, yes, you are doing a very good job. But believe me, I will let you know in the most direct way possible if you fail. But keep it up.
I would definitely say no. I don't think characters know their alignment. With a lot, I think with most evil characters, with a few exceptions, they probably don't consider themselves evil. They either think morality doesn't exist, or they think what they're doing is justified. That tends to be my view on why an evil character would justify their evil actions.
Yep.
I want to say this for the paladin, because you might be able to say they can detect evil. Clearly, they can see alignment. That you can detect evil as something for the paladin to destroy, but detect evil for paladins could also be perceived as your god letting you know this person needs help.
Yeah, this is unclean.
Unclean is another way to take it.
Yeah.
An
They
interesting
don't know.
That's how
dilemma,
I played my paladins.
an interesting dilemma I'd like to see is a character from that's lawful in some way from a society that doesn't have a lot of laws. Like, say they're a lawful from like a real like Stone Age tribe, or I want to say a barbarian tribe, but they wouldn't actually be a barbarian. And what few laws the society has, they absolutely honor and would always follow. But then they go to a very litigious society, and would they still count as lawful?
That is something I've always been pondering, because of the ideas like, what if this paladin works in an area where the laws are lax? You know, so he now comes into an area where, like, oh yes, on Sundays we're not allowed to walk in the light of our god, so no one's allowed out until dusk. But I need to get from point A to point B. I have an important message to deliver. Well, it will have to wait until dusk. I'm going to break that law. God, is that okay?
You know, if you're familiar with like,
Your hand made a noise.
if you're familiar with the Elder Scrolls universe, there's a god in there named Sheogorath, who's like the god of madness and nonsense. And it would be funny to see a paladin of Sheogorath just attempting to follow his laws because they're always changing.
I would love to do that guy just because I would have the book, and so that way I could look in it each morning and see what the new rules are to follow. Just so that way I could be like, all right, DM, I'm opening up my book, and I'm gonna roll on the chart so I can see what alignment I need to follow today, based on my god's ruling. Rules chaotic neutral. DM, I think my character is going to go temporarily insane. Hold on, let me let me get a sanity check.
Well, guys, I think we've just created a new archetype, Paladin of the Mad God, where you roll on a random table to see what rules you're following that day. And what bonuses you get.
I just want to see you go through this book after reading all the rules, and the final rule is no reading. That's for nerds.
Right, so that for the rest of that day you can't read.
No, just like, oh crap, I broke all these rules.
No, he hasn't broken the rules yet until he reads that rule, and then from that point on, he can't. He's following the rules. Huh?
Well, that'll be interesting. Is one day wakes up and it's always pretty normal. Next day wakes up, there's the lava jack, the little tag. You know what to do.
We have a very nice question from Blaze King. How is your day going? I hope well. Yeah, my day's going pretty well. Hanging out with the guys, doing a podcast. It's all pretty good. How about you guys?
My day's going quite well. I'm watching the third season of Infinity Train while I'm talking to you guys. Because Infinity Train's really cool.
My day has gone with a it started off rocky and went smooth. It smoothed out after that. Let's leave it at that, because I started making some real good progress on my world domination.
Yeah. Things are going well on my end. Been busy trying to juggle some things, and let's just say I'm in the market to upgrade my tech on a lot of levels. So other than that, it's going okay. Down to a buttload of writing and trying to be a writer and my own editor at the same time. So it's been busy, but it's been good.
Good.
Also forever on the quest to bolster my resume, but I guess that's neither here nor there.
Quest that never ends as long as you're looking for work? Yes, you're right. It's neither here nor there. It's right there.
Yes, but then again, neither.
Go
Go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to move on. We have a question from Ramcross. Do you prefer homebrew worlds or written campaigns? Honestly, I think both really do have their merits. Written campaigns, everything is made for you, and obviously you're going to put your own spin on it. Like
Incoming.
your version of Barovia is going to be different from the official version. Things will be a little bit like you'll put something here, something there, something that was there is now here, little bits like that. I think for the truly ambitious, making your own world is a great use of your time. It's a lot of fun. You get to find your version of everything and make the choices you want to make when coming up with this world. Like, you could say, this is what I'm sick of humans in games. We're going to make a world with no humans. It's going to be gone. And it'll be better for everyone. Or
He's a madman. Stop him.
But I think...
But
you can get into trouble if you do that, because it is tough. Like, especially if you've then been, if you've wed yourself to this world and like, I love it, it's perfect, everything is exactly the way I want it to be. I've got all my little Lego guys. I've made all the buildings. Hey, players, and the players in this Lego analogy are small children. Look at this perfect Lego setup that I've made. And you know the rest of the story, don't you?
Yep. Internally, I'm thinking 3, 2, 1. Oh my God! What are you doing?
Yes, the story ends with you weeping on the floor because your beautiful world now has spit all over it, and it's in many different places.
You're the one. Go ahead.
I was going to say for a fully built world versus homebrew, I think with homebrew, there's a certain benefit to be able to change things as you need them and make things fit your own vision. But there's a good joy to having everything detailed that you can quickly draw upon things. Though me personally, I'm worried about like messing up names or adding something that wasn't there. Like last game, it was asking me, oh, what were some of the names of this? I was like, oh, well, those names are probably important. Where are they? I shouldn't be giving names. I should be finding names. Where are you? I need names!
Yep.
I think overall, for me, I tend to enjoy homebrew worlds a little bit more because it allows the DM and player more leeway in what is there and how to make the world feel a little bit more personal, feel a little bit more like you are affecting the world. In those pre-built worlds, you tend to run into the problem, or you run into the situation where you're like, all right, this is supposed to be over here, and if your DM doesn't know exactly where it is, or let's say your DM does know where it is, and you also know where it is, and you know it's going to take you 4 days to get to said city, and you guys don't want to waste 4 days, and you don't want to fast forward 4 days, and you're like, But because it's already pre-generated to that distance, then you know it's going to take you that. Now, the blessing to that is you know exactly how long it takes you to get from point A to point B, unless something happens in between. That's the blessing to the pre-gen worlds versus the homebrew worlds, because in the homebrew worlds you could be going somewhere that might change its distance from your original starting location because your DM forgot or remembered something.
Yep.
Which is also fun, but chaos.
Yep.
We have another question from Stormfin. What would you change on a crappy archetype to make them better, or even workable? What would you change on the Holy Gun Paladin, for instance? Well, I'm sure if D4 were here, he could definitely tell you what he would change about the Holy Gun Paladin. I don't necessarily think that's that bad of an archetype. I think it's a good idea, at least. Maybe I would make the grit more accessible on the Holy Gun Paladin. You do need more grit. I will definitely give you that. Guys, are there any archetypes you think suck and could be better if only they changed one little thing?
Not suck, but I have a desire. The Clockwork Craft Construct Wizard class that's all about building constructs is like, oh, cool, that's sweet. What do you get for me? It's like, you get Craft Construct right out the gate. I'm like, sick! What else do I get? Well, if it's not a Clockwork, it costs 25% more. I'm like, okay, tough but fair. What else you got going for you? Hey, you can craft things 25% faster. I'm like, okay, cool. Is it any cheaper? No. But that was the point of getting it at such an early level. Well, if you get the money, you can afford it. What DM's going to give me that much money?
Yeah.
Hey, here's 4,000 gold. Go get yourself a dog.
Jeez. I like your materials, thank you. Any chance the scrapyard's having a sale? Yeesh. Let's see. As far as I guess as far as classes, I think could use a bolster. I would say less about the classes, and I would ease up a little bit on a I guess more alignment locks on certain classes. I mean, or at least offer something where it's like you can't play paladin because it's you can't play paladin because there's alignment lock, but there's the war priest or something like that. I guess all my alternatives. But I think in that instance, a little bit answering the previous question, it doesn't matter if I think I guess it does matter to some extent. But regardless of your world's homebrew setting or some custom thing thereof, I guess it also depends on the scenario, and we can sort of get with your DM as far as what you let you play, he, she, or what you play in that regard. But I guess for me it's the biggest thing, because I think with the most classes, from that in tabletop gaming is even the classes quote unquote doesn't one crappy thing about them, so to speak. This is where you come in as a player and sort of customize it to where you may have that thing, but in return it can have this, or I don't know, maybe the DM allows it some multi-class that kind of patches up on that thing. Yeah, I got the whole again paladin too as far as what they can do, but hey, you mix it with a bit of the rogue, and then as long as it doesn't trample over your god values, you can have it to where essentially they're a holy sniper.
What do you think, B12? Are there any archetypes that you wish were better?
There are a couple of archetypes that kind of that definitely have that they could have done something better with. The wizard has been shit on when it comes to archetypes.
Yeah, they went all in with the schools. They give you some good schools and sub-schools. Archetypes, not so much.
Yeah, where it's like you look over and you're like, archetype, hello, guys. I mean, who else had some? Oh, another one that jumps to mind is like the rogue archetypes, where at first you're like, oh, okay, and then you start to look at it, and then you realize only like 3 or 4 of these are viable out of the 20 plus.
Yeah, I look at the rogue myself. I was like, okay, yeah, I can mix it with. Oh, not much in there too. You guys, for being diverse as far as like you the rogue, you guys love the whole sticking to the shadows.
Yeah, because I mean, like you have stuff like Shadow Walker, and then you have stuff like Sniper, and then you go into things like Smuggler, where you're like, oh, cool, I can bribe people at the loss of my trap sense, conceal an item at the loss of my trap finding, and distract someone at the loss of my evasion. Now, if I'm playing a non-combat centric campaign, that might actually be viable, but in your average campaign, the rogue is the trap guy.
Yeah.
Losing the traps for hiding stuff and paying to get into town doesn't seem nearly as viable.
Yeah.
It happens constantly with some of the archetypes for other classes, but you'll only truly notice it if you kind of click on them and run through them.
Yeah, that's what I noticed too, and that's the thing. I guess for me, if I had the power to DM, I make it to if you go to a subclass archetype for most subclasses, rather than the whole, you trade up your trap sense or I go with the more, I don't know, lesser trap sense or something like that, and have the thing be like, because you're focused on essentially smuggling or essentially trying to recompartmentalize one thing or another. The trap sense dulls after a while, or I guess you could say technology sort of changes too, where you're familiar with, I don't know, the electric armed lock, where you try to pick it and there's like 2 electrodes that, unless you're the owner, zap, or something like that. It's something like that to where something in the world, either the world or your character happens to where you don't necessarily lose the old skill, you still have something like trap sense. Let's say token for this newer thing, you become more specialized in. I don't know if some people consider that powered or not, but if I was a DM, I'd allow something like that. Not just a wholesale, that's gone from you as if, okay, and the god of magic comes in, rips something out of you, puts the thing you want, goes, thank you for doing business, and goes out again.
See,
Roy has more. Go ahead.
I really like the notion of a rogue that's dealing with an incredibly high-tech system that he can't mentally wrap his head around. Things like, oh yes, you're breaking into this mad scientist's lab, comes to a door, sees there's no keyholes or anything, there's no hinges for him to fiddle with, hits a button. Please identify voice command. He's like, I know how the guy sounds. Starts practicing a little bit, looking at himself in the mirror. It's like, computer, open door? Command accepted. Always knowing a way to get it in.
There's a moment in Fallout New Vegas when you walk into, I think it's a robot factory or something, and one of the robots can walk up to you and ask you the password. And if you have a high enough luck score, you get the option to just blurt out the word ice cream, and it's the correct password. It's a fantastic moment. New Vegas is a fantastic game. Now, in my opinion, for archetypes, there are two witch archetypes that I have an issue with. They just happen to be on my mind, which is why I'm mentioning them. Number one is the Seducer Witch. I like the idea of a witch that's based on charisma instead of intelligence. But some of what the class requires you to do, I'm not doing it. It's like, I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that either. No, definitely not doing that. It's a cool idea for a class, but it's it's the seduction part that's. I don't know if you actually thought about what it's going to be like to play this at the table. It's going to be too awkward. Just saying that right now. Yeah. The other.
What are you talking about? Go ahead. I was going to say, what are you talking about? You're the bard catcher. The bard says, I'm going to do this person. And so Seduction Witch, just trying to act as far as the dark evil faction trying to get the party. You're just like, what are you talking about? You're basically the bard catcher. The bard's the flies and you're the spider. But nah, I'm only joking. I get what you mean there.
That would be an interesting power couple, though. The bard and the Seducer
I heard
Witch.
bard catcher and just thought someone laying out a whole bunch of instruments for him to start collecting with a big piano tied hung above. It's like, wait, I've got my whole orchestra set, but where's the piano? Thunk.
That's plan B, my friend. That's plan B if all fails.
The other one I sort of have an issue with is the Gingerbread Witch, which is fantastic in every way. I'd really like to do. They give you a lot of the nifty thematic hexes, like cook people and child scent. But really, you should be able to do more with like dessert themed stuff. Like you should be able to make an army of gingerbread men. Like you should get craft construct, but only for like gingerbread guys. Maybe mix in a little summoner in there. Give you a gingerbread eidolon. I like the fact that when you use summon monster as the gingerbread witch, the monsters are made out of candy, which I thought was great. I'd really like to see a candy barb, like a barb devil made out of like whatever that spiky spun sugar is. That would be really fun.
Or
Mr. Frost Giant, are you made out of frosting? Look, kid, I'm not happy about it either.
I was gonna say cue the one scene in Shrek 2 where the big friend, if you get what I mean.
Yes.
Jeez.
Yeah. I just want to throw a giant frosting giant at Jack and just see him eat into it and burst out like the alien from Alien.
So essentially,
looks at it, he's not falling asleep tonight.
Yep. He just giggles. I was gonna say for our group, the Hero Busters, no one at luck, we look around and is like, okay, which one of you guys saw the big marshmallow man? I did. Thank you! And just jumps in. And Jack is like, thank you! It's like, what? We roasted a little bit of marshmallows with a campfire. Where's Jack? Why is the marshmallow man shrinking?
I'm gonna build a really dumb adventure that's just called Jack's Acid Trip.
I don't know where Jack is. Oh, never mind. Now I know where Jack just spends the whole night just giggling and just the world's greatest sugar high. And to be fair, to be clear, I'm not making fun of the character. I'm enjoying the concept of Jack. Look at that big monster made of whipped cream. Says, "Don't worry, I got this," and just takes it out just by himself. Over the course of
If there was a giant whipped cream monster, I would just dive into it and you just start seeing it shrink as I slurp.
Oh boy. Yep.
Has anyone had any ideas for an archetype class they want to see made?
Let's see. Just for what's opportunity here, I really want to. Let's see. I don't know. I guess I guess it's much more what the classroom want to go with more than anything else, and just I guess custom making a subclass after not there too, but I guess it'd be more interesting to I don't know. It'd be more interesting to have a sort of I don't know, wizard cavalier sort of class, or like I don't know, for the wizard something like oh I like riding around on stuff on a mount, but a wizard there too. I don't know, have it to where it's like one part wizard, one part summoner, but then some of your mount wherever you want to go as far as the two, which it's easy to say, oh, just a summon spell too, but it's like no, but I'm thinking much more something like essentially something like a blade bound Mingus, but instead of being blade bound, it's being blade bound to a certain summonable mount or something like that. Kind of thinking like Darksiders, the one function in the game Darksiders 1 or 2 essentially gets to summon your horse.
So first off, I think they made a real mistake by not making like one of the Darksiders like a big 4-player experience, like a Left 4 Dead Apocalypse or something like that. Really missed out.
That would have been a good one.
But with your Cavalier Wizard idea, I think there are a couple ways you could go. One is you would essentially make a hybrid class where you're giving like 6 spell levels and some Cavalier stuff. You would get like the mid-range, like a D8, and you would make moving around on the mount and casting spells, probably like some kind of bonus feats in terms of like shooting while riding would probably be the main thing with the class. Another way you could probably go with it is just have a wizard who's all about getting the bonuses from charging, and you just like it's about like taking a dash action and attacking people. Where it's like you get like ride the lightning immediately out of the gate, and you just ride the lightning into people.
I had created 2 archetypes for the Bard as part of a that didn't come to fruition. The first was the Matador, who the entire idea was that he'd get a performance that would cause enemies to charge him. And then he would get follow-up performances that, based off whether they charge him or not, he'd be able to land an attack that would cause a debilitating effect on them. He'd want to carry 3 or so swords, and then the final one would be to get to deal a coup de grace on the enemy. And I thought that would have been a very interesting way to go, because I see the Matador as a performer. The other one I had was called the Fool, who essentially is a fine combination of extremely lucky and extremely unlucky. Is causing issues left and right. And I'd have it be that he can't have an intelligence above a certain point, or else his abilities don't work. And I only remember my favorite part being that I was going to replace his deadly performance with it'd just be a major mess that he would make, where it'd be something as simple as like sneezing, which would cause some birds to go flying up, frightened by the noise, which would throw off another creature, and then all of a sudden the whole place around them is falling to pieces because of one singular little mistake. or he goes and reaches for his sword, and that causes his pants to fall down, which causes one of the archers to laugh, and he lets his arrow go flying, and it snaps the rope of a catapult, and the catapult goes off and crushes the leader.
Boy, too far-fetched.
Behold the clown.
Classes.
Yep. Behold the arcane clown, the newest archetype. Arcane clown.
All right, our next question is, what are your favorite crafting and downtime activities?
Blacksmith.
Yeah, same. Blacksmith, a combination of blacksmith and some weapon training. You know, the kind of thing with, like, I guess in more modern terms, a fighter in martial class would be like, okay, each morning, have a delicious glass of raw eggs, that kind of thing, Rocky style. And it's like, where's Fillmore? You look outside, he's essentially either working on his weapons or essentially practicing with the sword or something like that.
I would suggest as a downtime thing for fighters to do is training people. That he could start trying to open up his own school of fighting to instruct others in how to fight.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It'd be a good way to work your way into the leadership thing, that your followers are your school.
Actually, now I think about it, I can imagine in one setting, sort of a place where it's either some, mixed martial arts or something like that. Essentially, some student of a, sort of martial school here, essentially doing that, like, hey there, would you like to learn the path of the, would you like to learn the martial path of this, start, martial arts thing too, really not martial arts, but classical sense, like, I don't know, a roving disciple of the Muay Thai sort of school, and it's like Muay Thai lessons here, Inquire Within. He's just like an extra student, and they teach other people to do Muay Thai or something like that. Yeah, I like that, just playing on the idea.
So this is the character that I would play probably in Wrath of the Righteous. I would play a siege mage, and I would focus on crafting enchanted siege engines. Because, damn it, we are going to close that world wound. We are going to throw flying catapult constructs at it until we win.
With my magic, it will be able to fire itself at its own command. I'm alive! What's my purpose? You see those guys? Oh, Jillikers! Kill them. Why? I barely know them. Kill them. Okay. All right, note yourself. Don't make them talk.
That, and I would like to do that one scene from Lord of the Rings where Saruman is talking to Lurtz, but have it be like a ballista or something. Whom do you serve?
Jeez. Meanwhile, neighbors.
That I think giving ballistas a burrow speed is a great idea.
Jeez. Yeah. On the ground, like, wait, what's that? Boom! Siege engine pops out of nowhere, starts launching, and then goes in like a gopher. Yeah. Meanwhile, neighbor Scruffy is just looking at this, going, "What you building there?" Siege engine. Oh, that's cool. Just standing over there, just drinking his coffee, watching you essentially build this giant machine of war. Just like.
Now, if you're also going to take flesh crafting with it, there's no telling what you'll accomplish.
Alright, but don't let the rest of the villagers know, otherwise they're more than happy to welcome you the torch and pitchfork treatment.
Well, I mean, I have to build the flesh siege tower out of something.
Yeah, sure, the lumberyard's having a sale, you can just go with that.
But it wouldn't be a flesh siege tower, would it?
Flesh of a tree?
I suppose.
Sir, you're just stapling bark to me. Don't mess with my process.
How do you think they invented bark skin, Bob?
Actually,
no one tell about stone skin.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about stone skin?
Anyway, the point is, I would like to play a Dark Eldar homunculus. There, I said it.
Look, I've got a lot of dumbness I want to play. I really want to play an Awakened Mouse Ranger that's main fighting style is using a returning arrow that is a needle with a thread tied to it, who basically grapples people by tying their clothes tight together. But there's no real rules for that, and I can't figure out any either. It'd be real cool.
Honestly, I had my most entertaining experience playing an awakened Capuchin that was a druid that literally just was friends to animals because he was one. And as the party did some stupid shenanigans and they decided they were going to attack an animal, I ran to the animal's aid and kept healing it through the combat, causing the animal to almost kill the entire party.
That's the spirit.
Good times.
Yeah. Why are you doing this? Oh, I don't know. Hey, I don't know. You said you want a challenge. I'm giving you that. Boom.
No, I just kept screaming at them. Every time they hit it, I would scream at them and then heal it.
Jeez. But all jokes aside, it would be. I guess it is. All jokes aside, it would be good in the DI, not just in the story, but also characters, and go into a little bit of character depth about what they would do in the downtime and such like that. I think it's also a good time too for the DM to sort of like, I don't know, give him in the downtime you sort of explore the world and see what's going on a bit. We would show what's going on in the world while your party's going around. Going around is essentially going around adventuring there too, but the world develops along with it. I guess another good thing you can do as far as spending downtime your character is doing is I guess gather information and seeing if there's any sort of plot hooks or anything like that that's sort of dangling out there in the villages. No, they're in the village among the usual banter in the town.
Hey, Doomboy, you're in a slice of life. Do you think you could build a whole campaign around basically just downtime activities and crafting?
Oh, absolutely. I'm already building one.
Okay, so you made Final Fantasy XIV? Congratulations.
Yay!
How dare you? You think I would... Wait, I don't know if Lightning's in 14. I know nothing about
Final Fantasy XIV is the MMO where they really want you to use the crafting system.
How dare you assume I would use that much leather in any campaign? I would use that much on a couch.
But anyway, you were saying before I had to get my dig in there at Final Fantasy?
He's getting Dad's outdoor chairs.
Essentially, the idea was centered on having the party put in a town, each of them working for different organizations or unions, thieves guilds, churches.
I literally told you.
Go on. Hello?
No.
I believe D12 is working on something else. You were saying Doomboy.
Essentially, the idea is that the party is working for this town and maintaining things, but as they complete quests and whatnot, they have to decide how they wish to divvy up rewards, whether they're going to be going to this group or that group, and that will provide better benefits. There's a wonderful turtle map that, because I like putting things in the back of giant creatures, I thought would be the perfect location for it, because then I don't have to worry about my party traveling from one place to another. Place travels for me, so I can introduce new ideas and worlds, or parts of the world to them, while still keeping it to something they can understand. It's really important with your party to give them a sense of safety and security, more of like a house or a ship or a cart, so that if push comes to shove, you can destroy it in front of them, so they don't feel safe anymore. Cough, cough, get this house.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry. We'll be totally fine if something happens to Kendra's house.
Well, as much as I would rather not have that happen, well, if her plans to know what to do with the house answers one problem, and I just gotta talk to her. I mean, Rigel's gotta talk to her about what to do after that. So, crummy as it is, it's like, well, how'd you like to go on the road for a little bit? I made plans. If you're down with that, I'm more than happy to help you out with that.
Well, DM, you've definitely got an opportunity to push Rigel in a really grimdark direction if you wanted to.
Oh, the dark things I would do, I suspect.
I thank you for the warning ahead of time. That's all I have to say. And besides, it's Carrion Crown. I think that since Grimdark's pretty much where it's going. At this point, never mind the misunderstanding, but at this point, the least Rigel feels he can do is make sure Kendra's out of the blast radius.
Another interesting question we have is, what are your favorite D&D gods and why?
Favorite what?
Gods.
Oh, Cord. Cord for life. Cord best life.
I'm not that
It's
familiar
strong,
with Cord. What's his
it's
deal?
strong, win football. Just picturing a bunch of Cord football players bum rushing the ball, grabbing it, and the first one to eat it wins. They haven't really grasped the game, but they've won it. No one talks about their bowling.
More gutterball than most of the people I know, but let's see. I guess one of the favorites, looking favorite gods in most things, I guess Pathfinder particularly. Let's see. I guess one of them is Rory, the God of Knowledge, and apparently, I guess as long as you can, it's not so much pass tests or show great ability as far as being a full second academic, but as long as you keep learning and such, you're essentially going good with him, so that's alright. And
isn't he the monk guy? Isn't he like the self-perfection, like god of monks or whatever?
Yeah, just that. Essentially, anyone that he may not be the world's greatest DUI crafter, but he never stopped learning, and I guess that's good enough for Rory. So hey, I can appreciate that. Let's see. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I keep mixing up gods in my head, and it's always funny because, like, someone's talking about Ragathiel. It's like, oh yeah, Ragathiel, he's the big murder centipede one. Everyone's like, no, he's like this really great and illustrious god. I'm like, ew. Oh yeah, Baphomet. He's the holy dragon god. They're like, no, he's a demon lord. What are you talking about? I'm like, what? It's like, no, Baphomet. I was like, oh. And that's how demons get summoned in by accident.
Yeah, summon a demon lord. Summon the great god of dragons, and the demon lord pops up.
No, sorry. This happens all the time. I'll call him up. Don't worry.
Yeah.
It's so embarrassed. Oh,
The
don't
demon
worry
guy,
about
his name is pronounced Bathmat.
He hails from the land of Ikea and the Great Bath and beyond.
Stay away from the beyond part.
Let's see. Another god I kind of like, or goddess rather, if you want me technical, is I do like Pharasma for what it's worth. All the stuff aside about death and such, and I think she also plays a very good role as far as like the whole cycle in there too. She's neutral as neutral gets, only because she has to judge all the souls fairly impartially after they pass on, and I don't know. It kind of reminds me of like in Greek mythology, Hades, where she didn't really ask for the job. Not like Hades, it's kind of thrust upon them, but at the same token, they do endeavor to do the job right. And in many other cases, they're not evil per se. They're just trying to make sure they do jobs right and the souls get to go with it. I mean, if the souls are trying to cheat death and doing that, that's not their fault. You can't do what goes control with the Sisyphuses of the world that you try to do, so that's one.
I have yet to encounter any of the D&D death gods that I could really get behind. Because some of them are like, oh yeah, death is part of life. It's like, yeah, but it's not a great part. It's the last part. Or it's like, wow, we love undead so much. Like, God, I love undead so much. I'm like, you can stop loving the undead so much, Uragotha. You're creeping me out. The undead, the god of death that I think would really be the best would be like, yeah, we don't really like death. We're all about avoiding death. How are we going to do that? Just not die. So, the god of death, undeath, and not dying. I have yet to find one that I can really give 2 thumbs up on the attitude toward death. Still looking though.
Well, what about the Midnight Lord?
I'm not familiar with the Midnight Lord.
Zon Kuthon, of course. Don't you know the good? Don't you know the good word? Good word of our Savior, Zon Kuthon. where you only have to inflict a small amount of pain on yourself or others each day to be a proper, obedient cleric of him?
Oh, isn't he not Pinhead?
Yes.
Well, yeah, I am familiar with not Pinhead.
I did have a game I played in where the cleric worshipped a god of death, and we're all like, okay, yeah, sure, you're not a necromancer? Oh, no, I detest necromancy. We're like, oh, sure, that'll work. And then whenever one of us was dying, we learned that there was another principle to his religion, that he felt it was wrong to heal someone who was dying.
Oh, jeez.
I was like, this is 5th edition, and I get 3 chances to avoid death. Don't do that! Or at least let us know so we can pack some healing potions. Or kill you and hire someone else.
I mean, technically, Zon-Kuthon's symbol is the skull with the barbed chain going through it, but his image of the world is non-Pinhead, where he's got his skin flayed and yeah. Good times.
Let's see. His areas of concern: envy, pain, darkness, loss. Seems like an edgy boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's kind of the guy. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, the look, though, it's pretty Pinhead.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Zon-Kuthon is actually the guy that essentially helps set things in motion for every edgy character, some tragic backstory. And it like, how could this happen, Zon-Kuthon? Zon-Kuthon could say, yeah, well, you want to go down this path, mate. I'm just helping you out. I am but the orchestrator of your dark and tragic backstory. You're welcome. This walks away. Where do my potions go? Yeah, we'll call that part of the fee. I'm not too fond of healing those about to die, so... Hey, it's either out your soul and, well, you can place a potion now, can ya? He walks away.
One of my dumber characters is a Skald who worships Lamashtu and gives people the rage powers that are all about, like, I think it's called Totem of the Beast or Totem of the Fiend or something, where they get, like horns and claws and stuff, and it's like, I'm all about bringing out people's inner monsters, because when you think about it, we're all monsters.
Yeah, I don't know if exposure therapy really helps out the world.
See, I'd like to make a mesmerist of Lamashtu who just quietly comforts people and tells them, you're in the right. You deserve to do what you're doing. You're a good person. Oh, he deserves to be hurt. Oh, you deserve to feel this way. Just comforting people into being the monster they are.
Oh, no. Sounds like a mastermind.
Sounds like Sarenrae.
What the?
I'm honestly surprised you weren't going to play like a mesmerist of Jubilex or something to get extra power over oozes.
But that does sound like Sarenrae to me. I mean, she's all about this healing and redemption. And then you turn your back and she's burning you at the stake because you're a sinner and evil. And you're like, what the? Where'd my redemption come from?
With death comes honor, with honor redemption. Shit, sorry. Couldn't resist. But nah.
I think my favorite god is Nethys.
He did make a great website.
He did make a great website.
I'm
Magic,
more of an
knowledge,
SRP
runes.
fan. Occasionally on the holidays I will go to.
Yeah, I think he's probably, as far as Pathfinder's gods are concerned, there was him, and then whatever the rogue god is that has the half and half face. I cannot remember which name that god goes by, though.
What about some of the other D&D systems? They don't even have to be D&D, just, fictional universes.
Well, then I always loved, every time Anubis gets brought in, every rendition of Anubis is always fun. Heck, Pathfinder has a version of Anubis. He's all about burial, the dead, funeral rites, mummification, and tombs. His schools of magic, aka areas of influence, death, earth, law, protection, and repose. And his weapon was the flail. I love the flail, to be perfectly honest. It's a great weapon, you know.
You know, every time I saw when I was playing Smite, there was an Anubis on the enemy team, I knew that the game was going to be harder.
Yes, harder is the definite word for that.
I think it's Bast in Egyptian mythology. It was essentially a god that was made to cause death and destruction, so people would come praying to Ra to save their hides. And Ra's response was, "Okay, I'm kind of too weak to fight this person, but we're just gonna get them completely drunk, and then cut them in half into two separate gods, one of war and one of cats." And they're like, "All right, Ra, that sounds like a plan, and we don't have any other plan."
Yeah.
My brain, you say that, and I look over at Bess and go, if Bess got split and turned into Basset and Set, my brain hurts. I think Basset got split, the cat god got split into Set and Bess. But I can't say for sure if that's how it happened. I can't remember my Egyptian.
Yeah. I'm guessing Basset looks at you and goes, "How do you think I feel?"
Well, Basset is the cat god, and she has some interesting philosophies if you actually pay attention to her actual culture. D&D
Yep.
culture, it's animals, chaos, charm, protection, and trickery. But she's all about that pleasure and secrets, so, you know. Whereas Set is about death, darkness, evil, murder, and
Yep.
weather.
Well, you know, if we're looking for the biggest bro in Egyptian mythology, I got to go with my guy Thoth. You know, it's like, oh hey, can you bring a friend of mine back from the dead? Yeah, sure, I got a spell for that. There you go.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, I'm going also with Anubis as far as among my favorites.
Well, yeah, Anubis is like the dopest. Yeah, god of embalming, not like that Osiris guy.
Yeah, I took his job too from the underworld. It's just, but hey, he was cool enough to like, you know what? All I care about is weighing the souls and making sure they go where they need to go in life. So yeah, technically I got demotion. My wife's not gonna like it, but you know what? As long as Grandma gets to go the afterlife and go be with her grandma, I'm fine with that. Yeah, Anubis is a good bro.
All right, so now I'm going to change countries of origin, and I'm going to go over to the Asian area, where a god that I actually love to despise, Lao Shupo, or the Old Rat Woman. Ooh, who'd we lose?
I think we're all here. Let me look.
Oh, okay, good. Oh, I think we may have gained
we've
someone.
gained.
Oh, all right. In the middle of something, I will let you know. I'll whisper you. But yeah, Liao Shupo, the old woman rat, or old rat woman. Great god, animals, darkness, evil, luck, and trickery. Thieves, rats, you know, Skaven. She's dang near the god of Skaven. Her subdomains are curse, demon, fur, greed, loss, night, and thievery.
Slightly off topic. Who's your Skaven clan?
Oh, okay. Well, you see, Ikit Claw is my man.
Fair.
Ikit Claw's my man. Or he's my rat.
Sorry about that.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Are we still on the topic of gods?
Yeah, we're still on the topic of gods.
I would like to also bring up Anansi from African mythology is one of my favorite gods, as just being, "Hi, I'm a god. So what do you do magically?" "Oh no, I'm a trickster." "So you're a bad person?" "Actually, I'm a hero in some respects." "Oh. What noble things do you do?" "Trick people." "All right." There's like 40 different stories which are basically to explain why this is like that or that's like this. There's this really crazy one that's about these spirits that if you bow to them or listen to their music, your skull falls out of your head. And Anansi had a skull fall out of his head twice. But the third time he caught it with his butt. and they refuse to fix him on the third time, and that's why spiders have such big butts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, sure, mythology, that's a take. Skull is falling out.
Hey, it was a great take if you think about the fact that that's one of the oldest stories told.
A man spider catching something with its butt cheeks.
Yes.
I was about to say, that took me back.
We are joined by D10. D10, I don't think you've had a chance to meet Doomboy. I think you two will get along just fine.
So,
So, I think we met via text on Discord, but
probably.
It's a possibility.
So anyway, we are talking about our favorite gods from Pathfinder, and because Pathfinder covers a lot of historical mythologies and pantheons, we sort of got off track, but, you know, such is life. So, D10, favorite Pathfinder gods, and don't feel free to limit yourself.
I was about to say, but we already know the answer, so let's see how far he goes.
why did you even bring me? I'm pretty sure you already talked about it in some degree. Darren Ray, Kate and Kaylin.
Well, technically, I have talked about Sarenrae just a tad bit, but only to insult her proclamations.
How dare you? Honestly, I'm a bit out of touch with the Pathfinder Pantheon, so I barely care to remember the rest.
Yeah, break into D&D then.
I'm mostly going into, let's see, the usual heavy hitters, Paylor, Asmodeus, Morden, the All-Father of Dwarves, and of course, Cord. Who doesn't like Cord every now and then?
Me.
Let's see. Actually, it reminded me. I think from the first ever campaign I played, I appreciate Morag Torag as far as an F. Not Morag, Torag. As far as gods, the first introduction to them, and a bit of a stiff when it comes to tradition, but he cares for everyone else that comes into his faith.
Yeah, from what I've read via the lore, Torak, Morden, it's about it's a vice versa sort of situation.
Yeah. I guess regardless of what the mythology you're going into, I guess there's one thing to take from all mythologies. The gods love to network.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's great that the Norse god of network is a big squirrel.
Norse god of networking is OP.
Ratatosker, great guy.
I actually came up with a cleric, a very nice gentleman by the name of Phil Pablo. Large string of names because he's very dumb and doesn't remember his name, so he makes up names. Who I described him as a mailman. He went through his mailbag to see what he had. It was just a bunch of weird letters that went to different places, and I showed that he had magic. I was like, oh yeah, he worships God. My brain reached through. It's like, think of a god, think about Hermod. He worships Hermod. And Hermod is the Norse god of messengers and shows a favor towards mailmen. I was like, oh, cool. It's perfect.
Yep, there you go.
Sometimes the gods of improv just help you out.
Yep. And sometimes the most perfectly possible. To see a guy coming in there, got a letter for you, this barbarian just beating up on someone. Oh, thanks. Puts his mailbag with a picture of a squirrel on it and just gives it to you. Thank you. Just he scurries off. In the middle of a siege of this great between the adventure party and the Lich, and then suddenly, ding dong. Oh, hold on a minute. What are you doing? I'm getting my package.
Oh man, one ride a giant squirrel would be great.
So there you go. That gets around. Especially in the more in the world as you're going to follow the Norse mythology, and there's a separate world. I think it's Alfheim or something like that. Well, I also get the packages of the elven the elven packages to the elves, and instead you have a giant squirrel on there.
I think I had another archetype idea, and it was essentially a Eric whose pantheons would change as the seasons would come, and thus his don't change with them. You'd essentially like work out these sets of gods, and then it is up to your DM as to what seasons there are and what your powers are linked to.
Maybe D10 can fill me in on this because he's a little more up to speed on 5e than I am. But don't the Eladrin have abilities based on the seasons, and do those change? Do you know?
It's honestly that's based up to DM discretion. I think the rules as written is you choose your season based off of character creation, and that basically determines what your general demeanor towards other people is going to be for the rest of the game.
Mm-hmm.
But it has been known to change from every now and then. I think it mostly has something to do with the elves' mental state.
I guess. Actually looking into Eladrin as far as characters I like to play, and sorry to mention them earlier, but I think it also has to go with the emotional state. Like you said, most of them, Eladrin in a certain season will be predisposed to a certain emotion or feeling. I guess if you pick a winter Eladrin, they're gonna be more morose and more sullen versus I think a summer Eladrin that's more passionate, something like that as well. So.
Yeah, summer Eladrin are passionate, spring Eladrin are bubbly and happy and flighty.
Yep, and a perpetual Disney musical.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think sometimes emotional states.
The question is, how often do the autumn Eladrin break into a rousing chorus of "This is Halloween"?
That's mandatory. That's mandatory, and usually
at least once a week.
Yep, mandatory in the dark, especially on Halloween. You hear, of course, of boys and girls of every age. We know it's you. We know it's you, Marcus. Get out of here.
So we want to talk about morose. Yeah, though, if we want to talk about morose elves, nothing beats the Shadar Kai, which I think are the elves aligned with the Shadowfell.
Okay, so they're the goth kids at the school for elves.
Yeah, basically.
That must be really rough on the drow.
Yeah, where would the drow fall? I think they'd be the bad kids who are like smoking under the bleachers. The high elves are clearly the preppy kids.
So the drow are the goths. Okay, so the drows are the goths, and the Shadar Kai are the emos.
Ah, there we go.
I think much more than the drow are more the goths / emos, and the Shadar Kai are the kind of delinquent delinquent kids that you really don't want to mess with that instance there too. When a drow looks at you, where you going down the where you going the alleyway, and you go to nope. They're like who? Oh, the Spider Spin gang. You don't want to mess with them.
The Wood Elves are the 4-H club.
Oh, good lord. I'm guessing by virtue of how close you are to, I guess, the god of elves, the Eladrin are the popular kids.
All right. So our next question is: how do you feel about anachronistic things like advanced technology or really high fantasy stuff in your fantasy setting? D10, just because you just got here, why don't you start us off?
Nothing's wrong with a high technology setting if that's what you're wanting to go for. Me, I sort of fall towards steampunk / magitech, where technology exists, but it's run by magic.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, that sounds good. I'm kind of inclined to follow the same way. And personally, I wouldn't mind it in there as long as it's game breaking, and as long as it kind of fits even in somewhat comical level as far as in the world at large. I think it's fine to some extent, as long as it kind of dissects the world or something too. well, let's face it, it'd be kind of funny to have sort of like a Robin Hood setting where essentially the Prince John character comes, comes in and just like I don't know, has essentially a license plate with runes for runes protection that sort of spells something or something like that. Some
So,
royals,
D10,
some nobles have like.
So
Go
D10, I've noticed as a DM, you seem to be pretty easygoing when it comes to working in various elements like technology. So would you say you feel like it's more about what you can do, like with the thing, versus justifying the thing's existence? Would you agree with that, or do you have a different take?
Yeah. Basically, I hate to make it sound like this, but essentially it's sort of me seeing ideas on a dartboard and seeing what sticks, what brainstorm stories that I find interesting to light or not.
Mm-hmm. What about you?
And
Rolf?
then I sort of retroactively just, okay, so why is this here?
I think for me, technology is always going to be part of my world, but it will always be one of those things where it'll be based on the individual campaign as to how much of it is seen. Like in all of my worlds, I have parts of the world where there's like a higher level of technology. Like typically it tends to be the gnomes have that just up above level of technology where they've just kind of realized that science and magic don't have to be together but can be, and they've learned different things where like I'll have a little magitech in there, but for the most part I like to have like an area where there's a decent, like not necessarily modern technology, but let's say Civil War, you know, American Civil War era level of technology where everything makes just enough sense.
Yeah. Go ahead, Doomboy.
I think that it's really important to consider how technology is affecting your world. If this place has guns, then you have to consider that combat has changed to suit that. That if this place has the capacity to have ships that fly, then perhaps trade is going to have to change with that. So considering how these things affect is important. I think Magitech's really good to have in your world. I think normal technology is really good to have in your world, as long as it fits. You could have that the entirety of this place is centered around giant moths that produce silk. As long as these things make sense in your world, I think most people won't worry about it.
Yeah.
So this world was a giant sweater at some point that a cosmic being of unparalleled size took off and left somewhere, we know not where, and the moths are slowly eating parts of it. Got it.
Actually,
Yeah, I've heard worse creation myths. Let's see, the world is Ymir's decaying body, and the giants, it came from his blood or something.
Actually, in the world I had it, essentially these people had managed to import these moths to the region, knowing that a rather wealthy individual would want all of the silk. They then proceeded to breed the moths so they would only be able to subsist off a certain plant that could be grown in their region. Anywhere else, the plant would die. So now the person was stuck doing trade with them, buying silk off them because they loved it. And anytime she tried to steal the moths would usually die because they can now only this climate. And where she was existing was not that.
Oh, someone's at the door.
But unfortunately, gentlemen, it's about time that I head out.
All right.
That's me. I'll be right back.
Lovely chatting with all of you. And if you guys enjoy this content, I suggest that you come on tomorrow to watch us play Carrion Crown, where I'm running it and chilling. Toodles.
Yeah.
Thank you for dropping in, Doomboy. And absolutely do check out the Carrion Crown tomorrow at 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. So, D12, you're a Magic the Gathering guy, and I got a question I think you'll have fun with. If our characters in the Carrion Crown were Magic the Gathering cards, what colors would they be?
Well, that's an interesting question.
for you see, unfortunately, people don't or would actually line up almost. No. A lot of people would line up with their natural color codes, but I wouldn't.
Let's
Because
see.
Jack would be red. Deacon would be blue and or blue-black, pending. Rigel would be white.
Well, it's fitting because I actually looked up certain things in the name as far as like meaning the name Rigel, and apparently the star itself is described as white-blue. So there you go. I think you're on the money.
Yeah, well, you don't actually show the blue aspect of yourself yet, so it's definitely white.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Cyphus, who's like blue and something, but the problem is the other color is interchangeable depending on what we're trying to do. But mostly it's like a blue-green or blue-white, even though he's there doing his thing. Anybody else? So I'm trying to think. Who did I miss? Other than myself. Oh, I know who I missed. D Hundo. Oh god. Actually, technically, his character would probably be also white-green or white-blue, but I want to say definitely white. And then D4's. Although D4's playing a paladin, I think he's more red-white.
Yeah, I can see red-white. So for Jack, I think you definitely have a...
How long have I been gone?
Not long, but long enough. But not long. D Hundo's great.
Just a go.
Anyway, I think for Jack, you have a... I think there's a case to be made that he's red-green. Because, you got some nature.
Oh, true. I have my... Yeah, I keep bringing out different animals. Yeah, so true that. I'd be red-green. There we go. Mm-hmm. And it makes sense with my spells, too. They are definitely green spell to pump up my crazy...
For Raphael, I think I gotta go just pure white all the way. I think he's
really
he embraces.
I thought so too. I thought so too. But I kind of had the feeling that there might be something hiding in there, but definitely white.
Well, for now, I feel good saying pure white. Cyphus, mono black.
No, because he doesn't do any of the things that mono black should be doing.
Yeah, I kind of look at him as well blue-black. The blue as far as scrying and knowledge, and
it's like he wants to be mono black. Like the character is designed to be mono black, but unfortunately the spell selection doesn't suit.
That's true, it doesn't.
Yeah, I'm thinking a bit more blue-black. Blue for Cyphus and how it usually does things. Black for the entity that's
I agree with you. Black. Yep. Black for the thing that's trying to crawl out through his skin. You hit the nail on the head with that one.
For Grigori, I totally agree with red-white.
Mm-hmm.
Although I wouldn't say that's necessarily D4's natural color state.
No, that was why I said, but there was some exceptions, because like his was an exception because he's not normally that doesn't fit his normal personality. It just but it fits this character's.
For those of you who are familiar with Magic the Gathering colors, we would call D4 a green. He is very in the green zone.
Yeah, the person that plays that character is completely a green character. Can I hit you with the biggest, baddest fist I can find? Yes. Now I'll make sure you can't hurt me while I'm at it.
I imagine a card that looking like an instant card that doesn't look like says like scream heretic, and then I don't know, for mana cost you could just instantly scream heretic and then bolster your attack or outright attack the person directly.
Now he has that 4/4 trampler that has that added ability that he can put tokens on someone, but he has to tap himself for it. He has to take himself out of the action to make someone else strong, or himself stronger. But then the next turn he's stronger, or whoever, and then he.
No, that sounds about right. He's got to take a turn to reload. So nope, I think you're on the money with that one.
Yep.
All right, moving on to another question that is kind of related to D&D. D&D has never been more popular. Where exactly do you think? What do you think the future is for the hobby? D10, why don't you start us off?
Oh Jesus. Honestly, from where I'm standing when it comes to at least for 5e, I can't really say for the future of Pathfinder, considering Pathfinder 2e still seems to be rather divisive. I'm not entirely sure. Like, I could very easily see Wizards trying to shake it up and make the game more complicated, but I just don't know. And I'm sorry if that's a cop-out.
Well, it is a little bit, but it's a fair cop-out, because we don't really know, obviously. But if you had your way, what kind of future would you like for the game?
Honestly, if I was able to spear home a 6th edition, I probably wouldn't be doing 6th edition. I'd probably be doing 5.5 because I barely change anything. I just maybe give the Warlock a couple more spell slots between his levels, and honestly maybe change the sub. And also maybe change some of the subclasses so people aren't always, well, especially the fighter subclasses, so people aren't always going champion everywhere.
Mm-hmm. D12, what do you think?
As far as Pathfinder as a name brand is concerned, I think that they're going to continue. They're gonna patch 2. They're probably gonna slowly stop putting out stuff for 1. They're gonna put some patches in on 2 to elevate it a little bit more, because the system itself isn't necessarily bad or anything. It's just completely different than what the name brand of what Pathfinder was originally labeled as. You know, it's for those who were trying to stay with 3.5, even though 3.5 died, and to get a nice evolution and leg up, because it gave a lot of really good upgrades from 3.5 D&D, and it continued on. It changed a lot of things, which for some people was a good thing and some people was a bad thing. But overall, I think that Pathfinder is just gonna, right now, it'll take a year or two to evolve and slowly start to catch up 2 to 1 with the amount of content in. It'll take a couple of years to update it all to their version, to the 2E version. And I think when they finally start doing that and get enough content and info out, people will learn to cope with the different subtleties that make it the way it is, and it'll become a lot easier and more fun for those who had problems with it in the beginning. As far as D&D is concerned, though, I think D&D is on a interesting wave. It's not a bad wave. It's just a different wave. It feels like they took 5e and they said, okay, people play WoW. Okay, now how do you play WoW and not play WoW on a computer but on a table? Okay, we've done it, and 5e was invented.
No. You're okay. You're sort of omitting a bit there. WoW
I
was
am.
4th edition.
I am, which is why I don't mention 4th edition, because I choose to believe that 4th edition should technically not have existed.
But if we did learn from 4th edition, 5th edition would not be as good as it is now.
Exactly, which is the problem. We had to learn from our mistake. We had to make the mistake first.
We always have to learn from our mistakes.
Well, we don't always have to.
Right?
Dude.
Yeah.
So, D3, what do you think?
Well, and for all intents and purposes, well, first off, sorry if you hear a thunk in the end. I actually dropped something else. Holding. But, getting back to the main topic at hand, I am largely good with D12, and hopefully this time, and the reason I think that Pathfinder 2e came out the way it did is, Well, I think in that instance, yeah, I think it's in that instance it's more of a growing pains. It's one part, make it up as they go along. The second part, just play the field, kind of like put it in batches and then see what they feel in the instance, and then put things up there too. Because I think the instance, while it is the core rulebook versus everything else in Pathfinder has all the other trappings of advanced classes, prestige classes. Like I said before, I think it's still sort of its infancy, but with time we can sort of put its version of what it wants to. It's not sound vague, but what it wants to be as far as how far are we along with what people love about tabletop gaming? What's our identity? And I think little by little, they're laying it down kind of like tile. One little bit here, one little bit here, and until they get the whole thing up, and it'll be a while. As far as D&D, I think there might be a shakeup as far as for newer stuff, trying to, shall we say, go on some things the world around. I'll put it that way in more friendlier terms. But I think in that instance, it's much more where can they go from here, and yeah. As far as outside tabletop gaming, let's just put it this way. A long time ago, I ran into a video that showed like Pathfinder Online or something like that. So that gave me an idea of I don't know, what have you gotten into a thing where it's kind of like an online game, but it sounds heretical because it's a tabletop game, but it kind of works like D20, but you make avatars and you're sort of go there too. So it kind of feels like you're watching a sort of game on that too. Or more interesting up there too. It'd be kind of interesting they do sort of like a VR chat sort of deal where you kind of make campaigns and you make your own character and you sort of interact in that instance there too.
So what you're thinking is something like a Roll20 type of world, but you can actually have like a 3D world and you can move the character around, and it's more like a generic insert yourself in your story RPG.
Sort of. I was thinking much more just like what I saw in that one video for Pathfinder Online, like similar to Roll20, it's a medium in which you can play the game too and such like that. And I don't know, it would be interesting to sort of more as interface technology gets better, kind of be where similar to kind of like VR chat, you're able to move around, and when the character moves around, it's your action. You sort of I deeply apologize for saying it like this, but kind of LARP in a way. It's sort of I guess I'm trying to say it's much more another avenue to bring the game back to life. Not that I'm unhappy with tabletop games and sort of the warm camaraderie you get with there too, because honestly that's why I love the thing. But it would be sort of interesting to see what people make of it too. In the same way, when you look online, you see original works from these other things there too, but you also see fan works and these other alternate universes where these people have taken that thing and made new ideas with it. And honestly, I kind of enjoy that. It's almost like seeing their idea, but also, a little bit part of themselves, the original fan creator in that instance too. Hell, you can make some new stuff out of it too. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is, regardless of it's tabletop gaming and that, I think it's much more interesting where they're going to go with it there, more than anything else.
When it comes to the future of D&D, I need to split the question into two parts. So first off, there's mechanically, where are we going to go from here? So when it comes to Pathfinder and versus D&D, there seems to be a path of diversion. Like, Pathfinder is going to become more different than D&D as we go along. As for 5e, honestly, I think it's going to be one of those editions that's around like forever. I think we're going to have 5th edition for years and years and years, and eventually we'll come out with something new, but I think it's going to be here for a long time to come. Now, then we talk about what D&D is going to be in the future in terms of popularity and its place in the culture, and that really rests on Wizard's shoulders alone. So, unfortunately, I know we're all fans of Pathfinder here. I apologize for having to tell you guys this, but Wizards, they're the brand leader. D&D is the big name. They are more popular than Pathfinder by leagues, unfortunately. So what that means is what they choose to make of the industry is what they choose to make of it. If they can continue with the momentum of 5e, I think that D&D has a bright future. If they do something really dumb, if they come out with 6th edition, The Cash Grab, where they just change things for the sake of changing things, I think they'll blow up the entire industry. Having a business with one point of failure, not a good thing, but that's where we are. So our final question of the night is a fun one that I think is maybe a little bit provocative. What is your favorite school of magic and why? Not what you use the most, not which one you think is the best. What's your favorite? Going to start off with D10.
Honestly, if you asked me maybe last year or even 5 years ago, I probably would have just said evocation. But I'm honestly getting a bit of an appreciation for the school of conjuration.
Really? Tell me more.
I'm trying to.
Dun, dun, dun.
For me, it's really fun just to think it's just mainly it's thinking. Yeah, mainly people think of it as the summoning school, but it's also, I believe, used for like spells like fabricate transmutation. Fuck.
So you're thinking like the creation spells, the things that let you manifest things out of nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. So have you looked at the conjuration-focused wizard for 5e?
I've scanned it a couple times. Have yet to actually make a commitment. Mostly because War Magic is just so fun.
Mm-hmm. All right.
As a school of magic.
All right. So anything else you think is... As a feat?
Oh no, War Magic is just one of the other specializations. It's basically made for that wizard that's in the middle of combat.
Ah, okay. Yeah, now I remember what War Magic is. So how do you feel about like the movement aspect of conjuration? Do you like the teleportation stuff?
Oh, I love teleportation, and also just trying to think of clever ways to use it if you can, if you're able to. Like I know, like in 5th edition, you can't really pull a Nightcrawler and thunderstep somebody 30 feet up with you, but still, it'd be a fun thing to do.
I'm remembering that was in X-Men First Class. Was that Nightcrawler? Or was that... I thought that was some other guy who looked like Nightcrawler, but...
His name's Azazel, but everybody...
Oh, his dad?
Yeah, when you think of the Banff power from X-Men, you think Nightcrawler first.
Mm-hmm.
The Banff power. Really? Teleportation you call the Banff? I love that.
All right, D12.
That's beautiful.
Is your favorite school of magic the school I'm thinking of, or is it something else?
Okay, so it's an interesting toss-up. I was always a fan of necromancy, but it wasn't necessarily, my end-all be-all, my love. I think I would probably choose, if anything... No, it is necromancy. I can't lie. I wanted to, but I couldn't. I couldn't do it.
What would you
It's
run
necromancy. Thaumaturgy.
An exotic choice. But so is it just the armies of undead?
The fact that I can in fact create undead does not hurt at all why I love the class. There are just certain things that just go beautifully, and undead are one of those things that there aren't any other way of really doing it. You don't see it any other way.
Necromancy, of course, has a lot of power outside of that in terms of debuffing, doing additional like damage to things, curses. You have many options with necromancy. It's not just skeletons. I'm sure there's like there's an evil spellbook out there that says necromancy is more than just raising the dead.
right? Necromancy to me is control. You want to control the battlefield. A
80%
lot of control spells are
It's
necromancy.
80% controlling the dead.
Whereas summoning and doing things to the dead definitely are part of the character. But when it all comes down to it, things like the Ray of Enfeeblement, another really, really good spell at low level, has really good applications in multiple scenarios. Anything from using it to just weaken someone in particular for someone else to be able to do something to them, or to weaken them so your own effects are more effective. I think Necromancy, I remember originally falling in love with Necromancy because of the fact that a lot of my wizards use a lot of control spells, and a lot of the good control spells end up being from the Necromancy school. You have spells like Touch of Fatigue, Touch Attack that fatigues the target. Let me I can't remember the one that I. Vampiric Touch is another one that does almost the exact same effect, isn't it? Only it's not, instead of fatigue, it's
You're stealing health.
Yeah, you're stealing the actual health itself.
Ghoul Touch is great because paralysis.
Oh man, Ghoul Touch.
I mean, I don't really have had a lot of experience with a lot of necromancy spells so far, but I'm finding quite a no end of the utility for the Speak with Dead spell.
Yeah, Speak with Dead is really good.
I'm trying to think. Some of my favorite, okay, so here are some good examples. Ray of Enfeeblement. But like Itching Curse. Creature takes a -1 penalty on attack rolls, saves, spell checks, and ability checks. Grasping Corpse. Causes the corpse to grab a foe or trip a foe. Whoops. Did I do that? Chill Touch. For some anti-strength and damage. That's just, and those are all the bare ball level 1/level 0. It gets better, and to me, Necromancy is all about that control. Everything that Necromancy is to either control some aspect of your opponent or to control some aspect of the battlefield. And then you can also, there are some ways to help yourself with Necromancy, but for the most part, it's all about that. How can I control my opponent's actions to the best of my ability?
All right, D3, what about you?
Let's see. I would kind of say, though I'm playing a magic-based character right now, and I haven't got that deep into magical school, I'm guessing Invocation might be a good one. I do like the sort of, don't know the much linguist myself, I do like sort of the way that some spells and such, Airlink has to do with language and such, like some words in certain languages are more phonetic, and I think with magic I can translate with that, so I'm guessing from what I've read so far, I'm going to have to go with Invocation for the moment. That may change with time as far as like learn about some other ones, but for purposes of this question, I'll go with Invocation.
Well, I think you are at the beginning of your magical journey. Most people, when they play a caster for the first time, they do go right for Evocation because it's easy to grasp, it's easy to understand, you know what you're doing, you point and shoot, and away you go.
Let's see. My apologies if that comes up. Go ahead.
No problem. As for me, it's the school that I like the best. This won't surprise anyone who's ever played with me. Is Enchantment. It doesn't always work. It isn't the most reliable, but when it does, man, it's the best. Just dead stop.
Yeah.
Can't do anything about it.
Yeah, that's too bad. Halfway through the game, everybody becomes immune to that.
Yeah. There are a lot of things. It's not a solid system. Again, I'll have to admit. There are a lot of things that are immune to it. No one would or really should ever let me play a vampire mesmerist multi-class because I would have a great time. I don't even know if I would.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I would leave the starting town. I would just set myself up as being in charge of it.
It's funny that you say that because like as you say that I remember why I chose transmute as my second one because of similar aspects of just hey, do you need some modifications temporary to make sure some things happen real quick? Oh yeah. Oh wait, do you need to change? Oh wait, hold on. You don't need to see, right? Darkness. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me give that guy some buffness so he can totally lift that bull strength. Oh, God, blood armor. Let me cut myself and increase the AC. Just transmutation is just so much fun because of that, because it's similar to enchantment.
It's one of the most useful ones, where it's like, I had a sudden realization. Wings would be so helpful right now.
Right? Or oh, you know what? I think my sword should fly. There's a spell for that.
And I feel like I should mention it because nobody else will. The unappreciated school of magic, abjuration.
Hey, abjuration is not necessarily unappreciated. It's just underutilized.
No. I appreciate
Everybody
it fine.
grabs
I
one
mean,
or two spells.
I mean, it's nice to have some shield mages in front of you.
Yeah, that's the true universal is the true unappreciated because it's so few and far between when you can actually find spells of that school. You go 0 level spell. Oh, okay, there's some universal. 1st level spell. 2nd level spell. Oh wait, no wait. 1st level. Yay! 2nd level. Wait, there aren't any. 3rd level.
Tragic.
I'm sensing a pattern.
It's like there's one spell. Can you guess what it is?
Sure strike.
No.
That's
Collaborative
divination.
thaumaturgy.
All right. Well,
Apply
we
a
are
meta magic
coming
property
up.
to any spell.
We're coming up on the end of the live stream. Quality has been a problem for like the last half hour, so I think it's a good time to end it. We've had several members of the Dice Bag come and go, but we are grateful that all of them were here, and we're grateful for all of the viewers who have chosen to spend some time talking about D&D with us. Thanks so much for tuning in. Come back tomorrow because we are playing the Carrion Crown live, DM'd by Doomboy, who was in here earlier, and check out the channel for guides on Pathfinder character builds, both version 1 and version 2. It's a great channel. And if you want to take your game further, find us on Discord where we have even more helpful information. The guys are always in and out. Stop and say hi. Say goodbye, guys.
See ya.
Goodbye, guys.
Hi. Guess I'll go into my corner of 5e now.